Hello, fellow players of Hero Wars. I'm Jay. Welcome to Jay vs. Hero Wars. Today I'll be talking about the Great Storm event and some approaches you can take to basically navigating the Pet Adventure event. Furthermore, some of the information is based off of what I think Hero Wars will give us for rewards at the end of the event. So that could potentially change up the strategy a little bit. But without further ado, let's check it out. All right, guys, so been getting a lot of questions about the new map in Pet Adventure event, right? So let's check it out. Now, we know that there's 57 based on the fact that the boss location is numbered 57, right? So what that means really is we need at least, well, if we want to hit every single of these marks one time, we're going to need 57 AP, right, or action points. And to be safe, let's say we're being extra cautious here. It's going to take us 3 hits to take out the boss, so we're going to need a total of 60 action points, right? And that's assuming that you don't miss anywhere other than the boss, and it takes you a couple of fights to take down the boss. So 60 action points is a lot of action points, right? So for players who are capable of doing that, I would say, and that's what you want to do, that's completely fair. My approach would probably be to start at number 3 and just go all the way around the outside. And then once you get all the way around, right? So like you'd go to this buff up here, and then you go to 60 all the way, or 35 all the way around. And eventually what you'd get to is you'd get back to 2, and then you go to 4, and then you would go to this buff right here, which I believe is 8. And then you'd sporadically hit the ones that you missed. But eventually you'd be able to hit all of them and go all the way to the boss, and you'd obviously be able to take out all 3 of these towers here, or altars, right, that are buffing the boss. So that would be the most straightforward way, in my opinion, if you're just trying to ensure that you have the easiest path, plus you get all the buffs. Now, I know some people would want to avoid the buffs. If that's what you want to do, you can avoid 34 quite easily, it looks like. As for some of the other ones, you might be able to avoid this one as well. But I don't know if you really want to avoid the buffs. I think it depends on your team and where you stand. So that's one way about going about it, where you can just basically clear everything. Another approach could be to target the boss, right? But you definitely have to take out these 3 different altars if you want to do that. Now, I'm going to have to pause before I keep going with that. But one thing to note is we have action points and we have storm coins. So storm coins, based on my understanding, we get to keep those until we get the next Great Storm event. Action points, those go away. So in previous storm events, for action points, we would get 750. We get a good amount of chaos particles. Now, that is, my understanding is that's no longer the case. Every action point we will get 1 storm chest. And storm chests, right, are what you would see in the merchant. So, or storm legacy chest. So I almost think it's better if you are unsure of what you want to do, right? I'd say it's almost better to use the action points and get an extra reward than it would be to just let it sit and then ultimately get the Storm Legacy chest. But that depends on how strong your team is. Again, what's in these Storm Legacy chests, I'll have a video in the description. I've opened 30 before on a video, and I can put that in the description. But what I've seen with these Storm Legacy chests is they're a little bit undervalued, because I've seen different values that estimate the worth of each of these. One thing that's not accounted for with Storm Legacy chests is that they replicate themselves. So based on my experience, typically there seems to be about a 1 in 3 chance that you get more Storm Legacy chests. So when I open 30, for example, then that means 10 of the hits will end up being Storm Legacy chests, and they come in pairs. So let's say you open 30 and you get 10 sets, which is 10 sets of 2. So you get 20 chests after that. So basically right there you have 50 chests that you've opened. Then, from those 20, right, let's say that 8 of them, because we're going with every 3, but it's a little bit less than that because we don't have a perfect number. So let's say there's about, let's say you get about 8 or 6, somewhere in that range. You're still getting more chests than you actually started out with. So that's just one factor to consider. Of course, what's in these chests, you got gold, eggs, right? So those are for summoning, and those can get you more action points. So if that's something you're lacking, that could be something you need. Gold, I think, as I mentioned. Then some pet potions as well. So those are a couple things. I also have that video that I was talking about. But these are a couple things to keep in mind. Pet soul chests are very valuable because they have those 5 pet soul stones in them. As for most of these other rewards, I'm not a huge fan. I think you can get them very easily in regular adventures. But why did I mention that? So the thing to mention, I think, is because the AP, right, these action points will give you these Storm Legacy chests as opposed to Chaos Particles like they did in the past, is my understanding. And then also, if you do get these Storm Coins, you can just keep them. So that's something to keep in mind. So just something that I would share there. And these strengths are supposed to be based off of your team level. So if you have a really weak team, let's say for your team level, I think it's in your best interest to potentially, if you really just can't beat anyone, you might just collect the action points and maybe you don't even try the adventure. But if your team's strong enough to beat the outer rings of the adventure, go for it and don't necessarily try to get to the boss. Just because there's better rewards for the boss, I don't know if it's necessarily worth it. But again, you can see here, right? I'm only getting 160 storm coins, where if, right, everything is as expected, where we get storm legacy chests for 1 AP, it may be a better value to not even, go through the adventure. It depends on what you're trying to do. So that's just something to be thrown out there because, it might be a better reward if you want the Storm Legacy chest anyway, as opposed to getting 100 Storm coins. You could just get a reward, right, that is worth 750 by simply just holding on to the AP. Now, of course, you won't get to hoard your Storm coins and save them up, but you might be getting a better value. So that's just something to keep in mind when you're deciding what you want to do. So I'm not saying that you should save your AP. I'm not saying that you should spend all your AP. These are just different methods that you can take and different approaches that I've heard about, I've considered myself, so on and so forth. And the reason I did battle was because I wanted to show you guys kind of what you can see. Another approach could be, and this is one that I was thinking of, is where you kind of just fight kind of in the outer ring or even in the middle ring, and you're just kind of chest hunting. So you're looking for where these hidden chests are because they do have more storm coins in them. And if you hit one of those, that's kind of like a jackpot win, where essentially you get a lot more storm coins than you would otherwise, right? So that's one other option to consider. So just throwing that out there. And as we are doing a couple of these battles, we can see, so a chest is nearby, right? So that either means it's, we don't know which direction yet. So once we battle another, I guess, enemy, we'll know more about where the chest is. So like, I'm going to go ahead and fight 9 real quick and see if I'm warm or cold. So that's what I call like chest hunting, where you're not necessarily trying to go for the boss because the boss kind of can take a lot. But wow, that is a really big enemy there. But anyway, yeah, so those are just a couple things to consider there. So there was no chest in this particular one, but it says a chest is nearby. So when I see that these two indicate there's a chest nearby, it makes me kind of think that 11 might have a chest. I could be wrong, and it could be 10. But that's kind of a risk that you take when you're trying this kind of approach. So I'm going to go with this approach on this particular account just for fun, because I don't think I'm going to get every single AP. So I'm going to go for 11. And I'm not saying that this is a perfect approach. I'm just saying it's one approach you can take. It's a risky approach. It's a high risk, high reward kind of approach. Some people like to take those odds, And again, wow, this guy is really big. Some of these enemies seem to be supersized. But, okay. So there we go. We took out that one. And we were right. So we got lucky, and there was a chest right there. It can contain anywhere from 4,000 to 6,000 storm coins. Plus we get the 170 from the matchup, right? So it seems that storm coins are kind of the new thing because there used to be, what do you call it? So I'm going to open this chest. But there used to be like other rewards that you could get when you were going across the adventure. It wasn't just storm coins. Now it's just storm coins, right? So here we got 5,200 storm coins from that chest. So that's one approach, is kind of like chest hunting. And now these guys don't say anything, so there's no chest nearby per se. So I would, if it were up to me, I'd go on to 15 here, or I'd probably go on to 15 and just keep going kind of across the middle until I see more indicators of chest. So it's a chest hunting technique. It depends on your approach, right? It's a little riskier because if you take a wrong turn, let's say, for example, I went to 11 and for some reason there was no chest there, and that means that it's got to be in 10, right? But I knew that there had to be a chest nearby because 7 and 9 were both connected to 11, and they both said there was a nearby chest. So that was kind of how I narrowed it down. Just another approach if you don't necessarily have the AP required to do all of the entire adventure. And if let's say your team level is like level 130, but your heroes are level 50, it might not be in your best interest to go about the adventure because the adventure is based off of your level. And well, at least that's my understanding. It could be off of your team strength as well, in which case that's a little bit better. But still, it depends on what you're trying to do. You might ultimately decide not to spend your AP, and you might just want to collect in on the Storm Legacy chests at the end of the event. Those are just a couple approaches that you can take. And so I just wanted to throw them out there. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Feel free to leave a thumbs up and subscribe. And I look forward to seeing you guys all in Dominion.